Good morning. So very happy to have you here. I have to admit, following Stuart Brown and doing a session on play, nope, we're not intimidated at all, Robin, are we?
No.
My name is Betsy Fox, and I'm Associate Program Director with New Teacher Center. I have been in the field of early childhood since the late 70s. I have been a preschool teacher as well as kindergarten, first grade, been a preschool director. I've been a public and private school principal. So lots of different experiences. I have the coolest job right now in the world. I get to support a few districts with early learning, and especially in the realm of leadership. So my work, a lot of my work right now is helping elementary principals understand TK.
Yay!
So they stop walking in the room chastising you for letting kids play.
Yeah.
And I have to say they're excited to learn it. They just didn't know it. Robin.
And my name is Robin Pence, and I've also been in the early childhood field for, I think, 17 years now. I also worked with Head Start for quite a while in Marin County. I'm a mentor teacher for Marin County as well, and I work at Linwood Elementary in Novato.
Robin and I have worked together we're thinking around 10 years.
It's been 10 years.
Learning together.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. This is our first time co-presenting. Feel so blessed. And the toys and all the materials, let's say thank you, because what a schlep. So I'd like you to kind of get into the space this morning and to think back to your young childhood. What is something you enjoyed playing or toy that you especially loved? And I'm going to have you you're going to do a lot of partner talk and some table talk. So kind of identify a partner that you'll talk with when you do partner talk. I'm going to ask that you do just one-on-one partner talk because we're not going to give you very long, and we want to give everybody a chance. Talk to a partner about this. Keep that in mind and think about this question. How do play experiences children have in TK create a foundation to be college, career, and life ready? And let's just have some folks share out. And we're going to ask you to speak really loud because we're taping, and we'll try to move the mic around, but that might take a long time. So just if you'll use your teacher voice, we have some.
I think the willingness to explore or take risks and just challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm. Right here, Katie.
It's just that working together. They learn to work cooperatively, and they learn to work in a group and share who's in charge. It's not always the same person.
So we want them to take those risks. We want them to try things and fail. I really want a 5-year-old to fail and mess up and learn how to do that. So when they're 18, they're not trying things as much because the risks gets bigger. So if I don't let them try these things out, they're going to do it at some point. Is there somebody sitting here?
I think, especially at TK, they don't necessarily see it as a failure. That's what I love, is that maybe they wanted something to be the end result, but the evolution, everybody buys into that evolution and something new is created. So I love that they don't just stop. Hopefully in college that stays.
So we're going to talk today about we're going to a little bit cover some of what Stuart talked about, not a lot, but you'll see some pieces, which is good because that's how we learn, hearing it different ways. We're going to talk about what play is and types of play, the importance. We're going to also talk about creating an environment. Robin's going to talk a lot about setting up a classroom and a lot of the things she has in her classroom. And then we're going to talk about the teacher's role in supporting play. So we're going to do it through this. We just did what we call at New Teacher Center a connector, where we had you think about your toys. Our connector is our way of kind of getting in the space, in the room. Plus, we built a community already a little bit. Right now, we're doing the welcome and the overview. We're going to talk about play and its importance, centers, teacher's role, and closure. We expect this is going to go super quick. We have it jam-packed. You're going to get some playtime in. The Play-Doh is for you to play, and it's a sensory object. The folks at the hotel have asked us to be careful to remind you that
Right.
we like went on a limb asking, and they just want you to remember that it doesn't come out of carpet very easily.
Okay.
Yes. So a couple norms that we use always, we have them posted here too at New Teacher Center, is equity of voice. So if you're someone who speaks up a lot, you might think about stepping back at times. If you're not someone who speaks, raise your hand, speak today. We're safe in here. Safety and confidentiality. I don't expect that we're going to be sharing like deep, dark secrets today, but we may say something like at my school, or you get in trouble for this. Let's keep that in here. Let's have a learning session. The respect for all perspectives. You all represent districts and schools all over the state of California. That is the beauty. One person might teach at a very well-funded school. Another person might be going through the warehouse to find tables. So let's just really remember that we have different perspectives. Obviously, we're going to actively listen, so we're going to try to keep talking to a minimum in between. And then we ask that you self-monitor your use of technology. If you're a mom and you're worried about a sick kid at home, obviously you might check your text. But otherwise, if you need to check email or text or make a call, just go ahead, step out of the room. You're adults, you are professionals. So we want to treat you that way with respect. So just think about something you might focus on today as we go through today's session. So we want to just start that. You're going to notice today that you're going to revisit that benefits of play a little bit. We really want to give you the language to talk to other people outside this room about play. And we have to have that language because we are educating others. And this is the balance. Like, we need to use lingo. We need to use research. We need to talk that way about play. Because if we don't really know why they're playing, then we can't help them develop complex play skills. So these are some theorists. There's many more. And I'm going to refer to my notes a little bit here on this one because I want to really give the right information to who. But who knows who Frederick Froebel was? Anybody? Say it.
He was the course behind starting kindergarten.
He started kindergarten. He's the father of kindergarten. What I did not know, though, is that he believed that play is the highest expression of human development in children. For it alone is the free expression of what is in a child's soul. He also invented open-ended materials, and he called them gifts. I just think that's so beautiful. And one of the gifts that he created were blocks. So I think that is as exciting as that he was the founder of kindergarten. I have a weird little virus thing that happens to my computer. So that's Frederick Froebel. Vygotsky, raise your hand if you've heard of Vygotsky. Okay. So when I went through early childhood classes in the late 70s, Vygotsky was making a comeback. He was a theorist in the 30s. He was around Piaget's time. And he really believes in fantasy play for children, that is how they take on adult roles. Think about your kids in dramatic play. Who do they pretend to be? Mom and dad. Who else? Teachers. Community workers. Spider-Man, animals. Superman. They really are taking on these adult roles through fantasy. He also believes that the zone of proximal development. There's 2 seats up here.
Are there? Okay.
And there's one over here.
Great.
And one here. Lots of seats. Here's one right there. Vygotsky talks about the zone of proximal development. And this is really important in play. This is the zone that's a little above what a kid can do by herself, but it's what she can do with either adult support or peer support, a more capable peer. it's where we do our best learning. It's not stress. It's a little bit above our level. So that is Vygotsky. Piaget, we all study Piaget, right? Piaget talks about that concrete level, that kids really need to experience things in concrete first and physical, and then they go into logical and social. And that is how young children, that's how their brain assimilates and makes room for new learning, is by moving through that concrete logical to that social level. And then Stuart Brown, need I say anything more? Right. One of the most interesting things I think about Stuart Brown is that he did thousands of play histories. And I don't know if he talked about that today, but I think about some of the people right now in the world, and I wonder what their play history was like. So we're going to kind of move through this part quickly because we have so much play for you and so much actually application. It was really important, Robin brought this up. These are all excerpts from the California TK Implementation Guide about play. So remember I told you one of my goals is that you have evidence that you can go back and talk to people that play is good in TK? We're not going to read this slide, but I want you just to look at some of the bolded terms. And if you'll just call one out.
Student-initiated.
Okay?
Self-regulation.
Okay?
Group problem solving. Social competence. Active investigators. Peer learning. Promoting language.
So you have this in your packet, but again, these came right from the TK Implementation Guide, that play is not only allowed in TK, but that this is one of the ways children learn. Any questions on that? So I wanted to just go through, I read a blog last month, and the title of the blog was called, Why I Don't Like Play-Based Learning. Did you read that? Wasn't it good?
It was so good, and then I felt a little bit of guilt, and then I was like, I need to reflect and take it back.
You probably thought to myself, I need to go to Betsy and Robin's session at the TK conference. So what she talked about in this blog was that we have taken play in school and we have really made it teacher-led play. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And she really talked about that play is not something you do to a child. If you have an agenda, it's not play. So as I work in TK rooms, I am seeing a huge range of really free exploration, and then I'm seeing what I call literacy centers that the kids move to one-on-one. We're going to talk a little bit on, we're really talking about free exploration today and free play, but intentionally set up and intentionally supported. And that's where we're headed. We're just giving you a quick framing. So really, we want to think about play being self-chosen, enjoyable, valuable, and unstructured. I want you to think back to some of the things you said earlier about what the play experiences in TK would provide. This is how you're going to get there. I think sometimes we have a disconnect. What we want kids to get, like we want them to become self-managed, but we don't give them any time to develop that. We want kids to make good decisions, but we don't give them any time and chances to make decisions. You mentioned wanting kids to make decisions and wanting them to fail. How do they fail if we don't let them stack the blocks more than 4 blocks? And we race over and tell them to stop. So we want to really think about kind of opening our minds today to thinking about this. Last slide of this section, but this is really a powerful quote. I'm going to let you read this silently to yourself and just tell me what are some words that stick out for you. What's something that stands out for you in this quote? Or just what's your thought as you read it?
Lightheartedness. That's play just
But calling it self-motivated practice of life skills might make the Common Core people happy.
Let me ask this. What do you call play in your program? Somebody raise your hand.
Centers.
Okay. What do you call it?
Free choice, where they get to choose.
Okay.
Free choice.
Okay. Choice
Workshop.
time. Workshop.
Wise choice.
Wise choice.
Where you choose to learn.
Where you choose to learn.
Play job. Play job.
Play job. Beth, what do you call it in Fresno? Free exploration. It kind of cracks me up because because we're like we can't call it play, can we? And look at all those terms we just used. But we do have to play ball. So if labeling it something else will get us to where we need to be. So, and I'm going to apologize. This first part is a lot of input, and then we really have activities for you. Stuart talked about some of these types. I want to tell you there are many, many lists of types of play. You can look up the 5 types of play, the 7 types of play. We put together this list of 12 types of play that one researcher put together because we felt like it encompassed everything. So we're just going to go through these, and then we have a question to ask you. There's large motor play. We saw this in the video. We saw it at Stuart's slideshows. There's small motor play, and that's going to be your manipulatives, your smaller putting things together. We have something called mastery play. Mastery play is where kids do something over and over and over again. I think about a TK classroom, outside time, and these 2 boys last week that just kept shooting a ball at a basket and kept missing. Like probably 99 misses till they got one. That's mastery play, where a child redoes and redoes. Rules-based play, that my kids make up rules. They make up rules in dramatic play. They make up rules in block play. They definitely make up rules outside. Construction play is your block play. Sometimes I'm in a classroom where there's a very heavy construction group that year, and I'll see 2 construction areas. Sometimes I'll see the block construction area, and I'll see a train area. Sometimes I'll see blocks and then small construction toys. So it kind of depends on a class. Make-believe is going to be your dramatic play. I don't call it housekeeping because sometimes it's a store. Sometimes it's a post office. Sometimes it's a bakery. Symbolic play is where children use objects to represent other things. Language play, it's that sing-songy. I heard people humming and singing with the song in the video just now. Just going with it and playing with language. We have playing with the arts. We're not going to talk a lot about this today, but I really love self-serve art shelves, and I rarely see them. But I never put out a craft for my kids. I had a shelf with materials that they could use. I had things they could draw with, things they could draw on, things they could paint with, things they could paint on, and some kind of molding, and lots of like acorns and leaves and outside materials to bring nature in. So that's that playing with the arts as opposed to gluing the 3 circles to make the snowman. The sensory play, I'm very excited when I go into a TK room and I see a sand or water table. You're okay, yay, you have one.
Yes,
Gold
we
star.
change out the stuff that goes inside too every couple of months, so it's not always just whatever.
Nice.
Pop
Great.
balls, shredded paper, we have rice beans, that kind of stuff. And we put, like, right now with the rice, we put magnet letters and magnet numbers inside with tweezers for the kids to try and pull them out. So.
Perfect. And I didn't have one a lot of times when I was teaching, so I used Rubbermaid tubs and just made small individual ones because sometimes I worked at schools where we didn't have them and they were expensive. Bird seed. So lots of different things you can use.
The kinetic sand.
Oh, I love that.
You can actually just sweep it up, and the janitor doesn't glare at you.
I want to.
It just comes right up. It's so nice.
One of the things with sensory play is I really want to tell you that your kids aren't too old for this stuff. Think about some of your kids right now. Think about a child that needs sensory play. And what we do is whenever we had buddies that were 4th and 5th grade, the first thing they do in our room was go to the sensory table. But we have a lot of kids we scold a lot. And really what they need is sensory play. Why do you think you have Play-Doh at your tables? We didn't want to scold you today. Rough and tumble play. This isn't a play that we usually do at school. Sometimes, do I have any in here? No. Sometimes I'll hire like a young guy, and I have to say, Jason, you cannot wrestle on the playground. And then risk taking. You all mentioned it. It's really where we take some risks. We climb up the ladder. We balance our blocks. We add one more block. It falls. So what questions do you have on? Well, let me ask you this. I want you to think about this and then talk with your partner. What types of play do your students right now this year have the opportunity to experience at school? From this list. And when you're ready, go ahead and talk to your partner. Associative play looks a bit like cooperative play. It looks like kids are playing the same game. But if you really look, they're not. They're not the same motive, the same intention. Really true cooperative play developmentally doesn't happen until around 4.5 years old. The difference is cooperative play, I care more about the social interaction than getting my own needs met. So that usually doesn't happen till around here. Does that help you to think about some of your kids? I want you to think, yes?
My question is if TK is their first experience in school, are we dealing with the guy that's the parallel play and they're not that age?
Yes. Yes. So I almost took these off, but what I want you to think about is a big part of today as we move forward is how you support play. So a child should be able to move pretty quickly into here at least. But if you know these, I might have a child that comes from another country. I saw a little boy from Russia 3 weeks ago. He was doing onlooker play, even though he was 6. So you just know these and you know you're moving your kids toward this and think about intentionally how do you do that.
So do we teach our students how to play cooperatively, or do we let them discover it on their own what works?
Very good question. Will you hold that because we're going to get into the teacher role, but we're going to talk about facilitating. So keep that and make sure we address it. So I just want you to think for a minute, we're not going to share with a partner, a child who might be at a different level. Yes. So associative play, and I think I wrote myself an example just so I could do that. They may share toys. The language increases. They may start to play dramatic themes, but they're still too egocentric for cooperative. So they may be playing in the dramatic play, and I say, you're the mommy today, and you're the daddy, and you may be like, I want the child, and you get those conflicts happening. They're not yet in cooperative play. They're caring more about their roles than they are the social. So in cooperative play, friendships become more important than getting your own way. So in cooperative play, I might be like, well, I wanted to be the daddy, but I'll be that tomorrow. So there's this line between, and a lot of our kids are here if they haven't had previous experiences. This is one of the things, I hope I don't keep saying this, but the headache, you know what gives you a headache? It's some of this. Because you expect them to be here. And today I want you to know that your kids may be here. And we need to think about what we provide them to move.
For cooperative, think of it like this.
Yep, okay.
Instead of your mom, dad, we gonna have a house to be. We're not single.
Well, I disagree. In my room, I think I see a lot of cooperative play from 85% of the children. And then I have those few kids who are in the associative stage. And those are the kids who say nobody wants to be friends with me, they won't play with me. But it really has to do with the fact that they are still wanting exactly their way, and that they are unwilling to compromise with the other children as a group. So I have a few of those that are but they came later into our school year, and so they're having trouble adjusting. They're just not there yet.
And while these are developmental levels, we're not talking about temperament today. So you may have some kids who temperamentally don't come out of associative play. And I can think when my daughters were going through school that there were some kids that never really learned cooperative play, even though they were 8 and 9, and they became lonely children. And I'm not sure I knew why exactly, but this is, now that I know this piece here, I can kind of label it a little bit. So we're going to do an activity right now where, don't look at your packets. Put your packets down. Don't turn the page because it won't be as fun. Each table, we're going to talk about the benefits of play. So each table is going to take one of these posters and write on it some of the benefits of that. And I don't think we're going to pass them.
Okay.
We'll just have
All
each
right.
table. So we're going to have this table do language and literacy, this table do cognitive, that table do social, cognitive in the back, language and literacy, and social. We're going to give you just like 3 or 4 minutes. So just do a quick brain dump of what are some of the benefits of play in each of your areas. So on your table are 2 markers, and if someone from your table will come up, I know it's a little tough with the stuff in the middle of the tables, but I know you can do it. So go ahead and get your things.
Okay. Yep, go ahead.
So in a kindergarten classroom, this is one of the things we struggle with. This is from a report called Crisis in the Kindergarten, Why Children Need to Play. We really talk about the laissez-faire, the loose structure classroom, all the way from classroom rich to child-initiated play, a playful classroom with focused learning, and a high teacher didactic, highly structured classroom. So I want you to think about where your class might fall on this continuum. And this is chaos. And this is and this will create chaos later.
Yeah.
So kind of this is where we want to be thinking about this. Another way to look at this is the teacher active or passive? Is the child active or passive? And really thinking about if the teacher is passive but the child's active, we're seeing a lot of discovery happen. It doesn't mean the teacher's absent. It means the teacher's stepping back. If the teacher is active but the child's passive, then we're seeing a lot of direct instruction. If both are active, we are seeing scaffolding, guided learning. with that. And this is where we're going to head next. In thinking about, Robin's going to talk in a moment about teacher role. So we're just giving you some things to think about. Again, think about where your children are. Are they passive? Are they active? And what role do you play? So we're not going to have time to do this, but we were going to have you do an activity where we thought about, is it teacher-initiated play, child-initiated, or teacher-directed? But I'll quickly give you an example. Teacher-initiated play is where the teacher lays out the tracks and puts a bucket of toys next to it. It's not bad. It's called an invitation to play. Is that Lillian Katz?
I think so.
Or from
what-
Reggio?
I'm not sure, but we call it invitations.
We call it invitation
Yeah.
to play. A child-initiated is where the kids just go into the block area and play. And they create what they're going to play, and they make all of the decisions. And then a teacher-directed is if I'm sitting in the block area, handing them the pyramid piece, and really kind of, I need to go play on my own. So you want to think about this area. I walked into a classroom and the teacher had Play-Doh on 4 cutting boards and some leaves in it. And there was invitations for kids. It was a teacher-initiated. It wasn't evil. So I want to kind of balance. But I want to do it with intention. I want to say, I'm initiating this. Make sense? So I really want to lean towards this, but there's totally times in a TK classroom where I need to do this, and I need to have this laid out. So we're going to move into actually playing to learn. And as we think about that, we're going to think about some of the teacher-initiated and child-initiated work as we do that.
So I get to talk about environment, which I'm really excited to talk about because it's one of my favorite things. Does anyone else in here love to set up environments and just be like, oh yeah, you're my peeps. I love that too. Has anybody heard about how the environment can be another teacher in the room? Right? If you have a really rich environment, it's doing a lot of the work for you. You're there to guide on the side and support. But the kids are in less discipline issues if they're just so engaged. So I really want to talk a little bit about that. But first, I want you to think about what is important to consider when setting up a classroom where children can play. What are the things that you need to consider when you're setting up this environment to be conducive for play? Okay. Space to build. Accessibility.
Developing a routine of and knowing where to get things and how to put things away.
Right, exactly. Having some kind of flow through the day so children know what to do and you're not spending a bunch of time during transitions. Great. Sufficient materials. Yeah, the kids aren't fighting over the magnet tiles because there's only a dozen. Right.
Like curated materials too, so that it's not just overwhelming.
Right, not the big box with the pile of stuff in it. Yeah, right.
Using Eckers as a resource.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, Eckers. Familiar with Eckers? It's a wonderful tool. It'll tell you, in your block area, these are things that could go in that area. It gives you all kinds of ideas. Eckers, ECERS. It's the Early Childhood Environmental Rating Scale. It's fabulous. You can do it on yourself in your own environment. I've done it on mine, and it really has helped me know what I need to have in different areas. Yes, thank you.
Putting pictures of the items so that
Nice.
they can easily go back and find where they got something.
So a child can clean up, because who can be everywhere at once cleaning up after the kids? You don't. So you have a system in place so children know where to put the items. Thank you. So this is just one example of an environment. There's all different kinds of ways to configure a classroom. And I know personally that we all have different spaces. It's like, oh, here's the TK classroom. It doesn't have a bathroom in it. It may be really small. There's no windows. I mean, we get all these different environments, and we have to make do and do the best that we possibly can. And I know that personally, being in a portable for many, many years. But we can do it. We're so resourceful. But we're going to think about the different areas that are so important to have. That dramatic play area doesn't necessarily, again, have to be a housekeeping area. We have a sensory area, that's that sensory table or bins. Language arts and writing area. I call mine the writing area because we read all over the classroom, right? Your whole classroom is your language arts area. Creative arts, having it near a sink is always good for cleanup and children be able to get their own items. Having a space for floor toys and for blocks. Sometimes with space, you can double this as the place where you all sit and meet, your circle time spot. I have to do that in my classroom. Computer area, nowadays you may have an iPad cart that comes in, or children might go to another space for computers, or you may have a computer in your classroom. Science and math shelf, a reading area. I don't have a reading area. I don't have space. So my books are all over my classroom. But if you have a little space, that's always lovely to have a quiet spot there. Puzzles, manipulatives, in another area. I actually have my math and my manipulatives in one spot with puzzles. And then I have a science area that's kind of freestanding. So I brought for you today some pictures of my classroom, which I'm so excited to share. We love sharing our classrooms. So this is my writing area. And so I have a shelf with lots of different materials. I have different kinds of paper, envelopes. I ask parents, hey, if you have any stationery you want to get rid of, just bring it in. We'll put it in our writing area. I have different kinds of writing tools, such as markers and pencils. And I have crayons down here. We have examples of letters that they can refer to, rebus cards and things where children can refer to for their writing, especially if you're studying something and they're really excited to write a particular word. I have a place for that. And of course, a little mailbox, anything that helps kids feel excited to write, you want to have in your writing area. And then this is my dramatic play area. Right now, in this picture, it's a grocery store. You know, it could be, I heard people call out, it could be a doctor's office, it could be a vet clinic. I love to have it around something maybe that we're studying, an investigation.
Is that a real window or is that a fake window?
This is a fake window. Portable, right? I'm going to put a window here. So yeah, I just salvaged an old window from my friend's house, right? And a parent made me some curtains. And it's, you know, putting together an environment takes time and process, but you just keep going, don't give up, and keep editing, and you'll get it. So there's a little grocery store. And then this is just a little block area play. And I put this in here because I wanted to show how I don't have a reading area. You could have one. I have just books wherever. I mean, they're in the block area, they're in the dramatic play area, they're all over the classroom. And this is a little book that we made so that children can look at buildings and reference them. If you see that, look, you see they've made Big Ben here with the magnet tiles. So it could be books that the children have made or you've made for them. This is the art area. And Betsy mentioned open bins. So I have these low open bins where children can access the materials. It can be Play-Doh tools, different kinds of paper, chalk, pastels, yarn. I have glue sticks, wood, beads, all different kinds of things. And I've gone through and I've talked to children about how to use them. And we'll talk a little bit more about the teacher's role later, because that's really key, right? When you're handing scissors to children, they need to know how to use them. And so there's enough there that children can do, like Betsy was mentioning, drawings and paintings and things of that nature, but also sculptural. So this is a little sculpture that we've colored driftwood with chalk. I have sculpture back here being of just recycled materials and paint. So that also within the foundations, they're wanting sculpture in the art curriculum as well. And I love tape. Have tape in your, Teach 'em Outdoors tape. I love tape. You can do a lot of engineering with tape. This is a block shelf in my block area. And for your block area, you want to have a variety of blocks, not just one kind. So you might have wood, you might have cardboard, maybe some foam. If children are building something really high. We talked about not wanting to permit them to take risks and build that tall block tower. If it falls, if you use foam on the top part or cardboard, they're not going to hurt themselves and they can go high what they're building. You also want to think about having like little animals. I have actually a small animal bin and a large animal bin because when they're putting things away, they can be sorting. So if you can kind of fit the learning in. My cars, which I brought with me today, all have numbers and they're all parked in a number spot. So you have to put them away in order. So you can kind of sneak in, and labeled shelving is really great too with vocabulary around it. This is just a little storytelling that children can do also in the block area because we have literacy all over. And this is community blocks of children in my classroom so they can become a part of the block play as well.
Wait, show your nature blocks.
Oh, and nature blocks. There's a tree that fell in my backyard, literally, and I said, could you cut that up into chunks for me? And that's like my plum tree that fell over in a storm. And pine cones and things that children have brought in. I have a science area, and these are 2 shelves that are in that area, and I put a lot of things from nature, and such as insects. I always have mealworms. I don't know if anyone else in here use mealworms in a classroom. Love them. Yeah, they, if one gets squished, you got a lot more, and it's going to be okay. They go through metamorphosis, and so they make beetles, and they don't pinch or hurt, and they don't escape. They're the bomb. And you don't have to feed them. They eat cereal. Sorting by attributes, other insect investigations. This has balancing. This is all about balancing. And I had hatched some chicks, so you can see I have a space where I can put maybe some kind of experiments that they're working on, such as seed growing, or this is the chicks. And I have a science tool shelf that I've spent time with children exploring every single tool so they know the word and they know how to use them. And I leave that there all year, and they'll see something and say, oh, I think I need a magnifier. And they know to go get it and use it. So you're supporting that science exploration. And you can't hardly see here, but I have some fur and antlers. I hit garage sales. I hit thrift stores. If it's like or a bone on the beach, I'm bringing it back and I'm going to stick it out, some bones out, or things that are natural and in the environment. So I have brought some materials from various parts of my classroom, but really focusing on math and manipulatives. And I put them in the center of your tables. And I'm hoping what you can do now is play for a few minutes and kind of as you're, actually I just want you to play. Don't think about anything else, just go for it. And then I'm gonna ask you for something else. Okay, can we share out a little bit? I'd like you to talk about what material you played with, and then also what a child might learn from that, playing with that material. And something else I've used with bean bags is I've just taken plates and written numbers on plates and put them out, and children can throw bean bags on a plate and say the number. There's lots of variations you can do with that. It's also an awesome activity to send home to parents because it's paper plates and a Sharpie or something, and you can put letters on it. You can do lots of things with paper plates making games. You can make a bean bag with beans and a sock and knot it, and that's something that could be taken home with the families if you do a make and take math night or something. That's the easy one to do. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
The blocks are all about measurement and geometry.
Okay, measurement and geometry, yes. How they go together. Having those 2 triangles and children discovering, wait, if I put them together, it makes a square. That's pretty magical. So, symmetry. Mm-hmm. Some of their buildings, you'll see some symmetry happening. So, copyright. I have copyright in all of these things. You have to copy it right. Take it back, copy it right, do it with your kids. Take pictures. Yeah, a good reason to drink a bottle of wine. And take those little proofs of your kids' pictures when they do picture day and just tape them, and yeah. So literacy and math, right? Yeah. Great. So you can see with all kinds of materials, and these are from the block area, from my manipulative area. We had literacy. And I'm sourcing a lot of these things from some are store-bought. Oh, do we have a crashing tower? Yes. All is well. See, nothing happened. Life went on. You can make another tower. That's okay. Yes?
I just had a question as
Yeah.
far as how you're establishing the environment. Obviously, you have a lot of manipulatives
Yeah.
and things out. And so at the beginning of the year, how many things do you have out, and how are you introducing new things?
Excellent question, and we're going to refer to that with the teacher's role, because introducing materials is really key. And where do they go, and how might you use them? Yeah, thank you. Don't let me forget to address that. So we connected to the Preschool Foundation, so now we're going to talk about teacher's role. Perfect segue, thank you very much. So Betsy's going to help me with this part.
So we've talked about the designing the environment, which is going to be your first thing to do as part of your role. If you need help with this, there are a lot of resources online. Scholastic has a tool that you can actually move around tables online and do it. I always suggest you do it on paper or there before you move all the heavy furniture. I know Beth here is a coach in Fresno. Raise your hand, Beth. And she and I did a room a few weeks ago where we just lived in the room for a little bit with the kids in there and really looked around how the kids were using the room, and then really thought about furniture. We literally went into an old room and found some shelving and just were really thinking about that. Shelves are your friends, because they help design the areas really and make them
separate.
And I have covered them with contact paper. I have spray painted. I have painted. I mean, I've worked in schools where I got the leftovers, but I wouldn't let my kids see that. So really having fun, setting the stage, thinking about your schedule. How do you make room in your schedule for your playtime? And really make sure that you have that time. Kids at 4 or 5, and I know you can't do it. Some of you have 3-hour, 4-hour programs. I would love to see kids playing an hour, because it allows them to think about what they're going to do it, get into more complex levels. Mm-hmm. So if they're playing in blocks, they have time to get into socio-dramatic play with the block props, not just build their structure. But I'm going to step back and say, I know some of you don't have a long enough day to do that. So sometimes it's good to know the ideal, and then you have to walk backwards. I like one solid time as opposed to 2 short times, because I really want to give them that chance to take risks, try things, play, practice. I want them to have little conflict. I want to give the space for that to happen.
When you're allowing that, they're self-selecting, do they run from this area to that area to that area to that area? Or do they totally walk?
Yes. Unless you're Montessori or something, where they want the work to stay in one spot. And, there's a balance to that. You have to kind of allow for some of it, because that's where some of this really inventive creativity comes from, is taking materials from different places. But having a space for it to go back to, where they know where it is, and then discussing it as a class if something didn't work out. Some Play-Doh got over into the carpet area, it got into the rug. What do you guys think about that? Is that going to work for us? In discussing with your class, so they know that there's certain areas for certain things. But I let kids mix and match, because I really feel like I'm being too teacher-directed if I'm saying you have to only do this in this area. With some exceptions for safety, of course, like scissors or things like that. You have to think of who your class is, what their skill levels are, and what you're going to be able to allow them to do.
And one of the things, as we go down this list, we have setting behavioral expectations. So I know a lot of you kids have to move their picture, or they have to move their name tag on a board when they change places. So you may have, as you set routines, 4 kids are allowed in block area. So maybe they put their names in the block area. When there's 4, that's all that can go in. So part of that running around, too, is really establishing routines and setting the behavioral expectations. I have seen some kids who don't have attention spans and really literally do run. I look at the room environment. I say, do I have running spaces that I need to close up?
Yes,
and what would interest him or her?
Because sometimes
can I put that in glitter? I found a kid once who just loved glitter and would stay in the art area focused. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sometimes kids are running around because they're not interested. So you have to look at your environment to diagnose what's going on here that my kids are running around and it's crazy chaos. If you have intentional taking something and moving it to someplace else to make something, that's different than I'm grabbing that, woohoo, and I'm throwing it around. Okay, there's other things at work there. They need to know what the appropriate behaviors are, and they also need to, maybe they're just not engaged. We haven't figured out what's going to do engage that child in the materials in the classroom.
How about the child that gets hyper-focused on one activity and you want them to bring, they love blocks.
Right. Yes, right. So, for example, block area is a good one. They're going to block area every day, and you want them to get some literacy. See what they're doing. Are they playing something with cars? Are they interested in that? And then you could get some books about that and bring that over to them to extend that investigation. I have added writing materials to make their own signs if it's a block play thing, or what else they might put on that construction. So you're bringing in the math into it. You're bringing the literacy into it. You've already got the fine motor. You may have some gross motor happening in there. It's like, how much can you put within that activity? Because kids could be studying widgets. If they're fascinated by widgets, you can teach them everything off of that topic, right? So you have to think about what could you be adding to that play to extend it to those things. And then offering invitations to that child that that child might like. Yeah.
And I've seen in some classrooms a book binder where the teacher's taken a photo of the block structure and the child dictates. Mm-hmm. So adding that. Robin has a son who gets hyper-focused on things. Yes. And will stay, like right now it's fishing is one of them, right? And he will get really, really interested. And Robin, even at home, kind of just brings in the other. The researchers say let him play. So if they go every time, if you find that you have 3 kids that go to blocks every day and others aren't able to, that's when I might create a second construction area. I really like to see girls playing with construction. So sometimes I will invite Angela with me. I'll say, Angela, I'm going to play in blocks today. You want to play with me? And she'll often say yes, and then 3 girls come with her because they're her friends and Angela's going. So I'm very subtle and intentional. But for the most part, letting them go.
Another way to spread kids out, like sometimes we'll change the dramatic play area, and everybody wants to go there because it's the new grocery store, and you can't have 15 kids in there; they won't have fun. I'll make a sign-up list, and we'll talk. Well, what would be a good amount to have? And maybe 6 children. And so we'll start a little sign-up sheet, and it's really intentional writing. Because I have to sign up for this. And you can use that system. Does anyone else use that system? You can use that system for everything else that children all want to do that one thing and then have a timer or however your system is in your classroom. That works really well too.
And then they learn to read each other's names.
They learn to read each other's names. Yeah, there's kind of little happy things that happen when you embed the learning into solving the problem.
So, and Robin just mentioned introducing new materials. One of my favorite things was to watch a teacher introduce new dolls. And he said, we have some new kids joining us, and they really don't like to be naked. And he talked about caring for them and how they didn't like to be thrown on the floor. And he really made them part of the class, and the kids named them. And it was such a wonderful experience. And they did this during a circle time. And another, introducing new tempera paints, how you actually use them. Best done during small group time, something like that.
Can I touch on that a little bit too,
Please.
Betsy? So beginning of the year, you don't want to put the glue and the scissors and the tape and everything out. Maybe you have a few things that are really interesting. Markers are probably fascinating at the beginning of the school year. So have those things out, and then you're having circles around the scissor use, maybe an activity around really focusing on scissor use, or glue or tape and things like that. So children can learn, and then you add it out. And then children just learn to self-regulate around those materials in a really wonderful way that you're not getting tape all over the room. They do amazing things with them. So just kind of slowly adding things out, and then also watching for things that get boring and the children are not using them anymore. You can move it to a different location in the classroom, and sometimes just moving it to another spot, it'll be interesting and exciting, or taking it outside makes it really exciting. But you can also just see, oh, the kids aren't really engaged in this anymore. You can add something to it to make it interesting, or switch it out. And then when you switch it out, share in the morning that you have this new activity. What do you think we might do with this? And someone could come up and maybe talk about it. And then where is it going to be in the classroom? Does that help?
So we just talked a little bit about materials. We're going to start to talk about these last two bullets at this point, and really thinking about our role with what do we do when they're playing. So right now we're going to talk. Robin's going to introduce these DAP, developmentally appropriate practices. These come from NAEYC, which is the National Association of Education for Young Children. And this really, our role here is to scaffold and guide student development and learning. That's our role. I'm going to say it again during playtime, is to scaffold and guide students' development and learning.
All right, so the ways that you can do that, the first one is to acknowledge. So for acknowledging, you acknowledge what the children do or say. You let children know that we've noticed by giving them positive attention, sometimes through comments and sometimes through just sitting nearby and observing. For example, thanks for your help, Kavi. You found another way to show the number 5. Encourage persistence and effort rather than just praising and evaluating what the child has done. Anybody familiar with growth mindset studies? So again, their research has shown we're looking for effort, effort, effort. When we look for effort, children rise to that and they actually go further than trying to get it right. So we want to be noticing that. Give specific feedback rather than general comments. We tend to sometimes say, good job. Oh, good job. Well, that doesn't really say much. It says, I approve of what you just did, but it doesn't say, I saw you make a tower and you put a pyramid or a cone shape at the top. I wonder what you're going to do next. Something specific, okay? Model attitudes, ways of approaching problems and behavior toward others, and showing children rather than just telling them. Because we tend to be oral, 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 but actually showing. I love to role model with the kids in my classroom so they can actually do it as well, and that seems to stick a little bit better. Demonstrate the correct way to do something. This usually involves a procedure that needs to be done a certain way. We tend to focus on demonstrating a lot. It has to be done this way. So, and think about when you're demonstrating and why it's important, and usually it's around safety, like showing them how to use the stapler correctly and safely, or maybe modeling how to write a letter. Things like that is for demonstration. And then create or add challenge so that a task goes a bit beyond what the child can already do. That's that zone of proximal development. That's making it harder. At the beginning of the year, I have a lot of framework for the children and boundaries, and I've set it so that children can learn to be in a space. But as I'm going through the year, I'm starting to take those things away. Like they sit on mats at the beginning of the year with their names on them, and then middle of the year, I take the mats away for story time, and we have to learn to self-regulate on the carpet. And at the end of the year, we're not using mats at all, because I want you to self-regulate, because the kindergarten you're going into is going to have that expectation. So we want to be adding that challenge in intentional ways. Asking questions to provoke thinking. Those open-ended questions are fabulous for helping children go deeper into their play. Giving assistance, such as a cue or a hint, to help children work on the edge of their current competence. So telling, I love to see what's going on and kind of see where they're going with an activity, and then slide something else in there and kind of walk away and see what they do with that. Maybe they're doing some construction and it's getting really good, but they're not quite, getting what they need. I might walk over and put some scissors down and tape and walk away, and they'll incorporate that. Or you can say, is there something else that you could be using to add to this exploration? And then providing information, directly giving children facts, verbal labels, and other information. We're good sources of information, I think, in this room. Give directions for children's action or behavior, and be specific and positive. Like instead of, no running, stop running, walk your feet. Keep it positive. And also, it's good to add, why is that a good thing? Walk your feet because we're being safe in our classroom. And then notice when they do it. That's like the secret sauce right there, is noticing when that child changes that behavior. I see you walking your feet. You're being safe in our classroom. And they'll keep wanting to get your positive attention rather than the negative. And that sometimes will switch a child from that negative attention seeking to positive attention.
So we're going to have you watch a short, it's a 1.5-minute video, so don't blink. Watch for these 10, and at your table you're going to identify what you saw. So have that list, you have it in your packet, and then...
So the teacher's role, as you all know, is so important. Like this part is, if we have the kids kind of going in and just randomly playing, when she showed that line where one side was sort of chaos and kids were just playing all over and teachers were maybe not so engaged, to super teacher directed, we want to be in the middle. And we're the guide on the side. We're helping the kids go deeper. We're supporting them to make good choices, to think of different ways to approach a problem, to helping them, supporting them to maybe do an interaction with another child. We're doing prevention through letting children know what's going to happen next. How you individualize for children. But this stuff is what makes the play really rich. That's where, and really understanding why you're doing something and being very intentional about it as much as you can. And then if you're not sure, reflect on that. Good teachers are ones that reflect. We don't always know. We try and reflect and make adaptations. So do we have time to share out?
What time is it?
Yeah. Because I'm curious about what DAP teaching strategies people saw in that video. Can anybody share? Yes, thank you. Okay. Right, letting them move, right? You're not sitting crisscross applesauce. They're actually learning through movement. She was asking questions. Yeah. And she was even sort of going, oh, do I move 3 spaces? I love doing that, just to see if kids are listening. Oh, this is number 5, right? And they're like, no, it's 3. Well, how do you know? Well, it comes after 2, right? Asking them, how do they know? Anybody else? Modeling. How was she modeling?
Well, she was playing with them, so she's modeling how to jump and how to roll and basically how to play the game.
Right. And was that not a joyful interaction? Right? There's joy in this. And I hope that you know that this is giving you permission to play in your job. Every once in a while I look at myself going, they're paying me to dance the bear hunt? Woohoo! You can keep the secret to yourself, right? But it's really awesome and joyful way to be teaching children. Anything else people saw?
The encouragement, just to constantly throw the dice and move on, and again, making it happy and fun. And he knew his numbers very well.
Right. Oh yeah, that was pretty amazing.
And she incorporated, am I behind you or am I in front of you? So there was
Prepositions. Yeah, you're poking it in. Wherever you see an opportunity, it's like, oh, right? You're poking that in, that learning in. Anybody else? And then number recognition, right? And it was addition too. If you think about number line and that alignment, they're going to be going and seeing that in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, but it's done in a play-based way in your classroom. You can do that number line on a shower curtain, on a drop cloth, or chalk outside on the cement. You can make number lines with kids. Painter's tape. Yeah, lots of different ways to make these rich. And gross motor, right? That was a nice gross motor example.
So we're going into closure. I told you it was going to go quick, did it? And we know we packed it, and we're sorry, but our idea was to give you a toe dip in so that you could learn more if you wanted to. We have a few books up here if you want to look at, but we hope we did our outcomes, which was that you would be able to describe what play is and be able to name some types, that you could explain the importance of play, create an environment for learning through play, and take an active role in supporting play. I think this phrase of learning through play is really the crux of what we're talking about with TK. So what we'd like to have you do is think about this reflection question. What is one thing that you're taking away from this session that you can implement in the next week? And what we're going to do is have you do a quick whip around, like 20 seconds each at your table. One thing you're taking away that you can implement in the next week. And when you're ready, start at your table. Thank you, just listening. That's one of my favorite parts of doing a presentation is listening to this piece. And there's too many of us to do it out loud, but I heard so many wonderful things. I know it's time, but we're going to ask you, getting your evaluation is really important to us. It's how we learn, it's how we grow. In the bottom of your packet, and Katie's going to be collecting these as you go out. But if you'll take just a few minutes to complete these, and Robin and I want to say thank you so much for coming to play.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.